So welcome everybody to our May board meeting. This is Marissa Caravella speaking. We have a week and a half left of school. Very exciting. And we have a pretty packed meeting today. So I'm going to go over our agenda, and then we're going to go into seeing if there's any introductions potentially tonight. So we've got that started at 6:38, and we're going to go over our last month's meeting minutes. We will have a deep dive, a discussion vote to kick things off on our school budget, which is obviously very important. And then we will have some operational updates, going into some facility updates. Our deeper dive for May is summer prep and obviously our budget. And then revisit our Big Rock school goals. Have a discussion on we do use the technology of Zoom and how much we share out as we're going through documents and things that we're discussing. So we'll have that conversation. We'll have a financial update. We will yes, they'll be separate. Financial update from AJ. If Sarah's on, we will have an update from Sarah from the PTO. I know they continue a fantastic job every month. And then go into our committee updates. And we also have revisiting our board goals and progress. And Stacy will close us out with any president's updates. And then we will adjourn. We do need to revisit our June board meeting date. It's, summer vacation season. So sometimes that gets a little tricky to figure out a date that can work for most of us. So did I miss anything? Everything look okay?
Looks good. Great.
All right. And so with that, I will open it up for public comment, and we have some guests in the room. I'd like to introduce yourself and your interest in joining the board.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Hi, my name is Walter Allen. For those of you who haven't met yet, I am a parent of a pre-K student here at IMO, but I'm currently a software developer at the Disney company. And previously to that, I have experience in education. I have a master's in education. I taught high school and middle school for about a decade, and specifically English and theater arts, but also because I was able to and they needed me, I dabbled in teaching math remediation for middle school and also computer science and pretty much anything they could put me in. That was me. But my heart was in English and the theater arts at that time. After that, I stayed in education, but I moved into nonprofit, and I was the executive and artistic director of a youth theater in Northeast Louisiana, which is where I first fell in love with theater because that's my home. I was able to move back there and take over the theater that I grew up in. So that was nice. Spent about a decade there before transitioning into software development. That transition was in large part due to the birth of my daughter and wanting to spend some more time with her. I come to the board looking to become a board member for a couple of reasons. One, we came to IMO because over the past 2.5 years, as my daughter has been in the Montessori environment over a couple of various schools, we have come to firmly believe in the Montessori method. I feel like I would have absolutely thrived in a school like this when I was a kid if I'd had that opportunity. So I would love to see this school continue to grow and flourish and be a pillar of the community for students who need it. But also, I myself have been the beneficiary of amazing boards and not so amazing boards. I think I'm in a place in my life where I feel like I can give back to the community, and I hope to offer my skills and talents to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Walter.
We had one other. I'm looking to see if Rob is on. Oh,
Yeah.
you're Rob. I'm so sorry.
You can take that.
Sure. Hello, my name is Robert Mendez. I have 2, soon to be 3 children here at IMO. One is 8, 6, and Sarah's going to be 3, or yeah, she'll be 3 next month. So the 2 older ones have been in here at Montessori for quite some time now, since they were 4 as well. So before as well. So yeah, we definitely came to love and appreciate the Montessori method. Like Walter, I wish I had this available when I was in school. I think I would have really benefited from something like this growing up. So yeah, we really found it for my oldest, who we thought would really benefit from this, from the Montessori teaching, right? And then we were surprised when the other child, Ethan, my middle one, who was more outgoing and independent, actually thrived in the environment as well. So pleasantly surprised to see that it does cater to all different personalities and student types. That's my family life. Personally or professionally, I'll say, been an engineer down here in Orlando since 2008, mostly with Lockheed Martin. With them, I ran various STEM outreach programs in the community. Every year we would host engineering week, so we would go to all the local schools, do a 2 to 3 week project with them, and try and get them excited about math and science and all the opportunities that are there for them. Also, I have served previously on another board here locally in Orlando at the Rosen JCC, a not-for-profit organization. Similarly, they were kind of in a new growing phase as well, so tried to help them kind of get through that and find their place in the community. So eager to continue to help and do what I can for the IMO community.
Excellent. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Maybe.
Yeah. Sorry, I submitted my application about an hour ago.
Carl?
Yes,
For some reason, I thought it, okay.
Well, yeah.
we are married, no awkwardness, that's okay.
Oh, let's go. There we go.
I'm Carla Mendez, same 3 kids, so you took a little. I have a different background, of course. I'm actually in healthcare, so I'm currently actually working at a New Jersey big healthcare system, but most of my career has been here in Orlando, working with Orlando Health, and so I do a lot of project management, quality management, supply chain experience with contracting, negotiations, kind of a jack of all trades there in the hospitals. I have not had the fortunate ability to be able to be on other boards in the most recent past, but I do have a very strong history in community involvement. When I was much younger, living in New York, my parents are both teachers, and so we actually did a summer camp for the urban population and did something that was free, total, no cost for any of the students. And we really just found resources to be able to fund that. And so similarly, we did something in Dr. Phillips. It's called Healthy Kids Running Series. And so I actually founded that, and Dr. Phillips brought that to a nonprofit that's based out of Pennsylvania. But that was a great experience. And then similarly, you know, we had to kind of find the community business leaders to help fund that, find volunteers to help logistically coordinate that. So a lot of experience in trying to build something out of nothing. But I think right now the time to be involved in the board has been very near and dear to our hearts, not just because of our kids, but just the opportunity of being part of a community that really offers something that's not as common, and is a true fit for a lot of, you know, children that the traditional setting isn't always the most optimal. I will admit that I probably thrive better in the traditional setting, but you know, it's nice to see all the other offerings, and so I think for my kids that's definitely something that was better for them, and so I want to support that and make that available to the rest of the community. I think there's a lot of maybe lack of knowledge as to what that really means. And so it'd be great to get out there and become known, right? How do we contribute not just to our students, but to the community?
Excellent. Thank you, Carla.
Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Good to see such strong interest Yeah, for coming.
Coming out of the woodwork.
Yes. Anybody else? Did I miss anybody else?
And on a budget meeting month too. I mean,
Yeah.
like, kudos.
So if there's anybody online who wanted to participate in public comment, I was remiss to remind that, you know, it is around the agenda, except we had some interested board members tonight. You can follow along on our agenda on board docs, what we're gonna cover tonight. So I'm looking at the chat. I don't see anybody who's submitted anything. I'll give it one more minute. Did you notice anybody? Okay. All right. Well, with that, we will move on from public comment. And we will go to our first item here, which is to approve our prior meeting minutes from April 9th. Those are out for the board members to look at on board docs. You know, if you have any changes.
I didn't attend, but I watched and reviewed, and I didn't see anything stuck out that needed changed on my end, but.
Make a motion for the meeting. Minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Okay. Thank you. All right, so that brings us to our first item, and we're going to go right into discussion around our school budget.
Absolutely. So I just uploaded for you all on board docs the proposed budget, and I know Dana is on here. And so Dana and AJ and I and Lily met today and kind of reviewed and made sure that we were straight with the budget. I'm excited, but I also want to clarify, like, it's going to change because that's what a budget is a projection. And so that's the first thing I want to make sure that I share out, that, you know, we'll do this. And then when we get final numbers starting next year, we'll.
Yeah, go here to the deep dive. Summer prep, but
Should I not?
it's there. No, it's on
Under item 4.
item 4. Yeah.
Okay.
And then it should be, yeah,
Got it,
there you
got it.
go.
Okay, thank you.
No, you're
good.
Okay. So I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about the behind the scenes. I'll let Dana and AJ and Lily kind of chime in wherever they want, but you can see on the proposed budget that I just uploaded. I don't know if you want me to put this on a share screen or if you want.
I think you're fine to share this.
Okay, perfect.
If you want to share your
Yeah,
screen,
that's-
or, I mean,
do I
I
have-
can happily do it too.
Okay, if you want to do that, that would be great.
Probably give you access.
Yeah, this is I can't. No, you gotta give me access.
Here you go.
All right.
Perfect. So this is our proposed budget as of today. We compared 23-24 to 24-25. If you recall, we approved an updated budget in November of 23. So that's what this number is compared off of. So you'll be able to see the revenue side of things. We knew, you see there's a little dip in revenue for next year, but we knew that some of that was due to losing ESSER funding. And so went through projected, again, some things haven't been approved from the state yet, so we're doing projections. That's why I want to preface it with it could change slightly. So you can see there what our total revenue is projected for next year based off of 963 students enrollment. Remember, that is the FTE enrollment, not including CASA. I think 2 board meetings ago, we shared, or maybe even January, gosh, that's been a long time ago. Our projected enrollment, including CASA, was 1089. So that's including our 3- and 4-year-olds. And so I'll share in a little bit just kind of where we're at for that. Then if you look at expenses, as we talked about in November, we cleaned up all of the GL codes. And so everything is coded. So 5100 is just says instruction. That includes teacher, instructional teacher salaries, TAs, anything that relates to our instruction. And then ESE is our special education. 5,500 is the CASA program. 6,100 is all of our support staff. And then, I don't want to read all of that to you, but so a little bit behind the scenes of what's happened is two things are going on at the same time. One, we approved the salaries for at the last board meeting. We went through, we have given out half of the contracts. We did all of our due diligence of going through the line by line on salaries. Hopefully we didn't make too many mistakes. So that was that part of it. And then the other part was Lily and I and Alicia all went through each budget, like each line item. So if it was 5,100, 510, then we said, okay, what did we spend last year? What are we projected to end of the year with? And then once we had that, we let our administrators go through and say, what do you have to have? So what type of programs do you have to have? What type of instructional materials do we have to have? We've reviewed every contract, made sure all of those numbers were in each line item so that all read into the budget. So I feel very, very comfortable that we are really spot on of what our expenses have been this year and what our budget is aligned for next year. And one of the things I've said all along is I'm not going to budget anything that's a projection. It's going to be what do we have in hand this year? If it's more, great, but I don't want any surprises for next year. So that's kind of the process of how we, got to these numbers and where we're at for that. Is Dana, Lily, AJ, anything you want to add to the budget?
Well, I have a few things, but what's Dana's timeline? Is she okay?
Yeah, she has to be on. So we'll let her go because she's another board meeting. So
Be
Dana,
nice
you want to?
for, yeah, Dana, just to, you've been very involved, right? In this process. Be nice to just take you through your thoughts and where we were, where we're at, and what you see the priorities moving ahead.
Heather, thank you so much for that overview. Pretty spot on. And I think it's important to understand the process and the level of detail. Heather and her team have spent countless hours going through the expenses with a fine-tooth comb and working with her team so that there's also a lot of buy-in from the school sites, right? We want to make sure that to remain fiscally prudent, especially with the ESSER funds expiring, that expenses did have to be reduced, but we wanted to also make sure that we absolutely preserve the programming. And I think we did a really good job of doing that. We also looked at other charter schools and compared staffing models as well to make sure that, again, we're not compromising program and that we're operating as fiscally prudent as possible. As you know, you have two bond covenants. One is to make sure your debt to income ratio is at least 1.1. Currently, with the close of the books of March 31st, your debt service coverage ratio is at 1.34. That's a fantastic improvement from a few months ago. And for the 24-25 budget projection, we're looking at a bond covenant of 1.3. We always want to make sure that there's an extra cushion, especially as we approve a budget so early on, to make sure that we have cushion for any kind of unanticipated expenses or increases. We're still also waiting for the state to finalize their FEFP calculations. So that will change about 5 times slightly throughout the year. So again, this is just an initial budget presented to you today, which is important because then this gives Heather really the direction of, how should she be staffing. It gives directives to her staff on how they can spend. And on a monthly basis, we'll continue to monitor through the budget to actual reports to make sure that they're trending within the scope of the budget. We'll look at this again at the end of summer as we get closer to knowing, more or less what are the solid enrollment numbers, what does the FEFP actually look like, and then also, what are the actuals of the salaries. There'll be some changes throughout the summer. And like Heather noted, this is a budget projection. I always recommend boards do at least two potential amendments throughout the year, one after October, another after February, so you can really get a handle on how expenses are trending. One of the challenges that we had crafting the 24-25 budget was the first big heavy lift was cleaning up a lot of the data going in, making sure that things are coded properly. Now going forward, as long as the data is clean going in, you'll be really able to monitor the school's spending and hold them accountable to their financial responsibilities. And then also, we reported your other bond covenant is to make sure that you have 45 days cash on hand. That has gone up significantly. At the close of March, we were able to report 27 days cash on hand. But I checked with our back office team. They were able to close the April books, and we have gone from 27 days cash on hand to 36 days cash on hand. So I really want to commend Heather. It's been a heavy lift, but she's absolutely trending on the right track. And if things continue for the next couple of months, you'll have 46 days cash on hand. So you are projected to meet your bond covenant by the end of June 30th. Another discussion that we had this afternoon is there's about $350,000 of outstanding receipts. So Heather has filed for the ERTC, which is through the IRS. And then there are still some ESSER funds that are pending. I asked the team to project if we were to have that $350,000 that we are anticipating and expecting. As of today, you would have 43 days cash on hand. So you are absolutely trending in the right direction. There is still about $500,000 of ESSER that still needs to be submitted for reimbursement. That deadline is September. So, now that we've worked really hard on this budget, our next step is I'll work with Heather to start looking at how we can get reimbursed as soon as possible. And again, that will continue to build up your cash reserves. I am pretty confident that based on the staffing of your school, you'll be able to find quite a bit to just be reimbursed for rather than spending forth that extra $500,000. So I would say all in all, the school is absolutely trending in the right position, the right direction. And that's what I have to say. So again, great work to Heather and her team to work on this.
Thank you so much, Dana. I really appreciate your help too. You keep me calm sometimes. I have a lot of people that I go to keep me calm. I appreciate that. So, AJ, what would you like to share?
Yeah, just a couple thoughts on the process and what you see here is this summary, but there's a multitude of tabs of data feeding into that, right? And I think that the key is that it's just a different system that we're using this year, and this is replicating now that system. And so it's not to say anything. It's what I mean by that is it wasn't a previous issue. We just transitioned systems with Building Hope. And what Heather and Lily and them have done is on all those line items, okay, she's really had the opportunity to, she probably knows the budget better than anyone, better than she wants to, right? But it's a good way to start. And I think, the days cash on hand for me really coming into this, there's obviously the bond covenants are the biggest priority for me.
Mm-hmm.
I trust Heather and their team to, I have no idea what they need. That's the frank way of saying it. They have to say what they need. My job is to say, well, are we going to satisfy the bond covenants that we've agreed to as a school? And so, one thing that Building Hope and the team does when we get these monthly reports, we're looking at those two ratios every month, and then we're taking a top-down approach and then looking into what we need to see. I think this will be very powerful for us moving forward in the fact that with this data set and how it's now reporting. So once the year finishes up at the end of June, we'll have actuals to go by that are based on that data set. So again, nothing wrong with the previous data set. It's just it's being reported differently. So we'll have a nice apples to apples comparison when we look at that budget for next year. I think that's when you'll see, from a finance committee standpoint, in our May and June and July meetings, where we'll go back and look at that, especially when the state funding comes through, and see if we need to make any amendments with what our actuals were with the end of the year. So I think the one thing when you look at this, when you see that surplus on the bottom, the first thought is, wow, what do we do with that surplus, right? But when we have to project between now and next year to have 45 days cash on hand, for these covenants, it's a significant amount of money, plus future capital outlays. We just spent an hour today meeting, in our 5-year capital outlay plan and what we're going to need to set aside for the school, because whatever the school and everyone has to understand that, if what we need to set aside for capital projects, we still have to meet those bond covenants. So in addition to, right. So I think my opinion is, the ESSER funds were great to get us through a certain time period, but it did make things a little bit difficult with how we needed to use those dollars. And it's not like we would have been a fool not to take advantage of them, right? But I think now, with moving forward with those starting to lapse, it'll make this process a lot easier. I don't see us spending as much time. It's not a very complicated budget. I mean, it's really not. It has a few key areas. So if we have good data, we have good projections from a funding standpoint, we control expenses. I think what allow us to do, instead of us looking at this, okay, what's our cash on hand? What's our, debt ratio? We can now start to say, okay, what are the shortfalls and what do Heather and the team, need, right? To build up the program even more. And we can start focusing on those things. So I think we'll be over that hump going into, next year.
You don't have any questions?
Questions, yeah.
My only comment was just, I do see we're down a bit around professional development,
So that,
I wasn't sure about.
that was the ESSER funding where we had put back to pay for everyone's ESSER or everyone's Montessori training. And we're gonna go back to the paying half.
Oh, that was
Yes,
what we
that's
discussed
what
about
that,
them
so you
paying
will
half.
see some of
I
those
see.
declines, but that is where we pulled ESSER out.
So that's where,
Yeah,
a chunk of where it
yes,
went, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so the ones that are like the major 100,000, that all typically was coming from ESSER monies
Okay.
that we are pulling out. So that would be the difference.
And sidestep on that, I think that one of the things I know that we've talked about on that is like, how can we do a lot of this stuff in-house, right? So that it's not costing additional funds when we have so many highly professional, skilled teachers already in our building. So I think that's something, right? And looking at what we're doing and sharing out those best practices. So I think that's something that she's looking at specifically with like those Wednesday sessions and specific days. So the PD part, I think, will still be met. It's just coming from a different pool of funding.
Right.
Okay.
If that makes sense, right?
Absolutely. We have some highly professional people here that I want us to start tapping into. Just had a conversation today about this work cycle at the secondary level and, people that haven't got to be trained yet and how can we incorporate that into like to train them on what that looks like. So those are the things we need to take advantage of, that we just have so many professionals here that are highly qualified, because it's evident because all the other schools send them to our school to observe. So we have Montessori people coming, but all the time. They're constantly calling, wanting to see how we run things and those kind of things. So, we just need to showcase that more within our own.
And give them our rate.
Yes, I know. I need to give them our rate. However, today we had this hour-and-a-half training on the bond of all the things you can and can't do.
Yeah.
It has to be tricky, like creative.
The 50,000 for the school board, that is our funds that we reserve for training, Zoom accounts.
That is, I'm sorry.
So that seems high. I don't know that we're meeting
so
that
one
anywhere,
is-
which is fine if we need to hold it as a cushion, but I don't.
So some of it is actual, let me pull up the budget here and I can tell you exactly, but, so that would be your liability insurance
Yeah.
that you have to cover
Okay.
you, so that's included in there. Yeah, because really you don't have much under the school board, but
Under the
it's the
board
way
docs.
things are coded for you.
Did you put, the galas in there?
No, I didn't put anything that we are projecting because I didn't want to, not have that true number. So if it's something, then we can add to it. So contractual services, which was 50 or 45,000, travel was $100, and then your liability insurance was 5,000. So the contractual services, let me pull up what that was.
But that's not $45,000 for board docs.
No.
No, and Zoom.
Let's see what that was.
It might be something else that they're utilizing.
That's what I was
Yeah,
asking
let
her
me,
if she, because there was a reserve to make down payments for the gala. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
But
No.
she said that wasn't in there.
Okay, hold on a second, I've lost my number. We can keep talking and I'll go.
Okay.
with it. Well, that is. Okay, so that is actually for, some of that is for, oh no, I still got the wrong number. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me check something.
7,100.
71, I did 72. Sorry. That is our attorney fees for the year. That's
Okay.
also our auditor.
Oh,
That's what I
yeah.
was starting to think about.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm starting to think about, like,
Yes.
when we consult
Yeah.
with the lawyer.
Yeah, so we do.
Look at
That makes
We just have, oh, well, we already knew for sure the auditor.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Oh,
The legal
yeah.
fees alone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
20,000 for the auditor, so.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, as long as it's not 45 grand for Zoom.
Yeah, that was
No,
what
no,
I was
no,
like.
Zoom is on
Board
something
docs,
totally
right?
different. No.
We love the transparency, but we may have to like hand out pamphlets or something.
That's the
I have a question. Were the decreases in student support services and technology services, does that reflect ESSER as well?
technology, yes, both of those would be, because we funded computers out of the technology side of things, and then we also funded some positions out of the PSC,
Okay.
Mhm.
or support services, I'm sorry.
And have we set ourselves up technologically to be in a better place than we were?
Yeah,
Okay.
so Stephen's done an excellent job about, one, we have E-rate coming in, so that's some of the money that Dana was talking about.
Mhm.
That won't start until next year, and so we didn't put that in yet till we know for sure. Like, we've had a meeting, Stephen has ran all of that behind the scenes, but the way you'll do it is a discount on your bill for so long. So that's not in here yet. That's something when we do a revision as we see it, we'll do that. But he's done an excellent job too of using our current money, trying to stack ahead. And then we have a projection of what the fleet looks like in 2 years that needs to go in 3 years. So we don't want to buy all of that at one time, but
Mhm.
yeah, he's definitely stayed on top of all of that for me. Any other questions for budget?
I guess, is there anything that we didn't discuss, which were like bigger items that you had to reduce because of getting back in the box?
Overall, like, positions is what we're talking about, or, so one of the big things that we did was we really trimmed down all of the extras. So, we looked at every contract. The last contract that I have out right now is our, property insurance. Hey, Jay, remind me to talk to you about that before we leave. But so that's the last one. So every contract has been vetted, negotiating prices on all of those. So we've definitely saved some money there.
Every single process, I think you have went through this
I
year.
have. Well, we have, not just me. We
Yeah,
have.
the
It's-
team, but
Yes, the whole team has went through this whole process.
yes.
It's overwhelming, but definitely learning a lot. So we've definitely seen some savings there. And then on the other side of that, we looked at even programs that we're currently using that maybe we're not using with Fidelity, and it's nice to have. So we have that we have to have and a wish list. So as we start to look at the budget, and let's say we do get a surprise certain amount of fundraising money or whatever, then we can say, okay, that's an item on the wish list. We're gonna knock that off the wish list kind of thing. So that's kind of how we went through the whole process of trying to have the least amount of impact. Like we had to cut out pre-planning days. We typically have 4 or 5 days for pre-planning in the summer. Unfortunately, that's, we had to cut that out, but that's a pretty large expense. So that is one of the things that I do worry a little about, but I'm also going to work with administrators to ensure that the days we do have, that we're making them meaningful for staff, that they're getting the PD that they need. And then also how do we embed that PD throughout the year? So that is something that we did have to cut.
How many days did they get?
Denise, was that 5 days, 4 days? Usually 4 days. Yeah. So that's something that, was funded through ESSER last year and that we won't have this year.
I mean, I kind of like the fact that we're not saying we're relying on projections of fundraising here.
Yes.
Like that creates, I mean, we want to then just sort of address that separately and make those goals and then be clear that that money is, not consumed here. It's not impacting this. It is, for other items, as you said, your wish list. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what we've traditionally said, we want to have clear, tangible items that people can, go for and reach for and say, oh, my money is going to that. So we can be very clear to say, this is the wish list we are focused on right now.
Yeah, if somebody wants to make a nice donation for operations, that would be
Yeah.
phenomenal, but but I understand too wanting to see the outcome of that. So,
Yeah.
So yeah,
Separate.
right.
Yeah, we had to exchange emails on not like the revenue side, but if we do move forward with the gala, there's like upfront expenses
Right.
Yeah.
before
okay.
you can recognize more revenue.
Yes.
If it's okay with you all, I don't know if Dana has already stepped off, but I'm not sure. She is. Dana, I will let you go. I know you have another board meeting. Thank you so much for
Thank
all
you,
of your
Dana.
work.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you all. Take care.
Appreciate it.
I think we have to
Yeah.
approve the
Yeah.
budget if you don't have any more questions.
No, I mean, I think that, like Kristen said, it's very clear cut with hitting all of the needs there. Yes, we are decreasing expenses and increasing our revenue at the same time, but to AJ's point, right, like we have to do that. We have to move in that direction. So I think that makes sense. Before we make a motion, I think it's valid to shout out again the efforts that have gone into this process. By Heather, by Lily, by Leisha, the whole team who have just like worked endless hours to think about even going from 1 month of, of March and ending with 27 days cash on hand to now 36 days cash on. I mean, like we didn't think we were going to be there. Like you're like, oh, I don't know, like that 45 and then potentially projected to be able to meet that 46 days cash on hand is that's impactful, and that is purely the work of this team who, and not the AJ for sure, but the work of the school admin team to make difficult decisions, to really prioritize student instruction, and look at what we need to have. So kudos to everybody who's involved in this process. I know that those were tough decisions. I know that there is no possible way to make every person, every stakeholder, happy in this world, right? Because we have to make those tough decisions and there are things that we are going to be losing out with. But I think it's important for us to be financially responsible at the bottom, right? Like that has to happen first. So just one additional kudos to the team for all of their hard work with this. And with that, I will hold the floor if there's any motions.
We're gonna adopt that budget.
Thank you. All right, Kevin has made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Awesome. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have adopted the budget for the 24-25 school year. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Great, so that brings us to is our general operational update.
Sure. I don't honestly have a whole lot to share, but want to do a little. First, I'm going to let Kathy She wanted to do a little quick share out, so I'm gonna let her start.
Great. Hi, everybody. Just a few things that we've experienced recently and that are coming up. We had our step-up visits at the end of April, where our rising students got to visit their new levels, and those all went great. We also had most of our rising nights. Testing has been going as well as it can, thanks to Stephen and Natalie and all our teachers and the kids and everyone for hanging in there with us. We just have some secondary testing left to do, I think Turing and Goodall. And then we'll be done. Teacher Appreciation Week was wonderful. And thank you so much to Sarah, the PTO, Felicia, everyone who was involved, all our parents for all their thoughtfulness and kindness and generosity. Everyone felt very, very appreciated. And that was wonderful. On that note, I do want to recognize Sarah Vlecko. It will be Sarah's last board meeting as PTO president. Sarah has been an absolute godsend to us, and just you know, at a time when coming out of COVID, I know it's been said before, Sarah, but it bears saying again, when we all felt so disconnected, Sarah really rose to the challenge and pulled the community together. So thank you, Sarah. You have been absolutely incredible and you will be missed. But she's not going too far. She will stay as vice president, and we will welcome Karen Greiner to the role of president. So Sarah's not getting to escape fully just yet. Departures, continuing about departures, I will be sharing in the newsletter tomorrow some of our staff that are leaving. We do have a handful of staff who are actually moving out of state this over the summer. So I'll be sharing those next week, and those staff members will be sharing with their classrooms if they haven't already in advance of the newsletter coming out. I do, though, want to call out in particular Nicole Tisher, who is in this meeting. Nicole is one of my wonderful APs. Nicole is actually going to a brand new job, a brand new career, not school-based anymore. Nicole started in 2014 and started as an MTSS coach, and then went on to become staffing specialist, and has now done a great job as assistant principal. She's worn into the fabric of our school, absolutely. And we are so much better for having had Nicole Tisher in our lives and in our community. So I just wanted to say a huge thanks to Nicole and to wish her all the very best. We will be crying into our coffee cups every morning for a while, missing her, but all the benefits she has brought to our community will remain in her wake. So thank you, Nicole, appreciate that. Great. And then one more thing, which I should have done before I talked about Nicole, because now I'm feeling a little weepy. Show choir concert and the community choir concert will be on Monday night, 6 o'clock at Ocoee Middle School. And on Tuesday, we will have the band concert at Ocoee Middle School at 6 o'clock. And we're very much looking forward to those events. And if you haven't been to one before, I certainly recommend that you come, because they put on a great show. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kathy.
And thank you, Nicole. You have been wonderful. I do have Jared's update. So seniors' last day is tomorrow. Graduation is next Wednesday. I cannot believe this. Testing is going well, and he wanted to highlight biology because as of right now, the passing rate for the EOC went from 58% to 85%.
Woo!
Oh.
Yes. So it's exciting.
AP no, just biology.
Yeah, that's the
Bio
one that
EOC.
we've gotten back. Moving
great.
plans, I'm going to share with you just a little bit, but we're coming right along to having the middle school move over. So these things are starting to roll with that. And finishing up the master schedule, and that will be ready. So that was Jared's update. And as far as middle school transition, just to kind of give you a little bit, we had the rising nights, they were in great attendance. We have kind of multiple plans going right now logistically for the move. So we have the admin team. Leanna has been doing a phenomenal job, and I need to shout out to Leanna. She's trying to roll both buildings with Jared and be over here. It's been a little crazy and hectic for her, but I really appreciate all that she's done. but she's working with Jared and the teachers and finalizing, even down today, counting furniture, because us teachers are hoarders and we like to take everything. And I'm like, no, we're not carrying everything from IMO campus over until we know what we have here and what do we need to get rid of here. So she has been working with Jared through that whole process and the team leads and getting all of that straight. On the backside of it, though, Tito and Stephen have been doing a great job. They had Stephen contacted some movers for quotes just to kind of see what it would cost to move everything from here to the high school. Not that I want to spend money, because you know how I am about that, but at the same time, I think about that's a lot of boxes and furniture up and down steps, and then I have to worry about the liability of somebody getting hurt, so those kind of things. So I was first like, no, I'm not spending the money. But then on the other side of it, is it worth the risk? So I think we're going to probably move on with movers. We just got to select a date in June. But before we do that, Tito is working out a plan where we get the furniture. There's 4 classrooms that need to be moved at the high school, and furniture needs to be moved around. And then that cleaning, trying to get those rooms done. So Stephen, Tito, and I've recruited my husband, Doug, to move the high school at the end of May to help move the furniture and boxes for those rooms. So then we can hire movers to do the other. So so there's a lot of moving pieces, but I feel like we're going to be moving right along with that. So
Thank you, Doug.
yes, I don't even know if he knows yet, but he will. If he ever comes back to us, we'll call him like, oh, great. I'm like, well, Fridays is a work from home day. You'll be fine. Another thing that we're working on is the safety. So we do have a safety grant for next year. And one of the things that came out of, there was an incident, as you know, we occasionally get incidents over at the other campus, whether that be at across the street, the McDonald's or whatever. And some things, there was an incident that happened, just realizing the need for a PA system there. There's no PA system in that building, so we rely on walkie-talkies. Unfortunately, the walkie-talkies are not high quality walkie-talkies, so it picks up all the construction. So what do you think staff do? They turn it off because they don't want to hear it. So then it becomes all this confusion. So Stephen found some PA system companies and brought them in for quotes. And the one, I don't have the name with me, I should have written it down, that was the best bid and had the best reviews that we're going to go with, but we're not going to do it until July. And so we'll use part of our safety grant, and then the remaining I have already put in the budget. You know, it's going to be a total of like 36,000, but it does secure the entire inside. And then also walkie-talkies, certain walkie-talkies will upgrade. So officers turn the radio into that, and it would do a PA for us. So teachers could call it from their room on their phone, but then admin could call it from a walkie-talkie if in case of an emergency. And I went back and forth like, oh, I hate spending that money, but at the same time, safety is our priority. So what I would like to do is get that campus and then see what we need to do here for this campus. There are some regulations that just came out that we have to work through. And one of those is, if I'm reading it correctly, is that we have to have somebody manning our gates during the day. And so I'm hoping that that is kind of rewritten before it's in the law. So I do have Officer Stern working with a COE-PD to try to see if they hear anything. And then we have our charter school, our OCPS charter principal meeting Friday. I'm going to see if they provide any guidance, because that's going to be a whole nother ball game if we either have to have a buzz-in system at the gate or somebody manning it. Like that's going to be a whole nother, it's going to be hard. I just don't even know how that's going to happen, because a lot of campuses don't even have fences. So I'm like, how do you? So that's something that I may be bringing to you a little later. And when, you know, how long do you have for that? Is funding coming down for that? I think there's going to be a lot of pushback. Sounds great in theory, like I would love that, but I also don't want to turn our school into a compound either.
No.
You know, so it has to be that. So that's kind of the safety thing. I do have the for you to sign. And I signed because I thought it was me, and so I'll have to white it out, but it's the
Oh.
charter school, safe school officer designation form. It's not due till July, but Kathy is on it and handed it to me now, so that's taken care of. Human resources, just want to let you know, contracts are being handed out. I have to say, I've put a lot of pressure and work on Alicia and Lily, and I'm surprised they haven't ran yet because, you know, I'm like, we're gonna do this in May, no matter what, and I know they're ready to run me off, but they're hanging in like a champ. So we are halfway through getting out contracts. So every employee will have a folder with all of their information in it. And so we've handed out, and there's been some mistakes that they've caught, and that's what I want that for. That's why I wanted to do it early. So they're doing a phenomenal job on that piece of it. Lastly, summer planning. I know we talked a little bit about what's going on this summer. June 10th through the 14th, we have the World Peace Games here. June 18th through July 2nd is our CGMS training at the high school. So our staff that's finishing up that will be at the high school. Summer Bridge will be July 22nd through the 25th this year. And then I've already talked about no pre-planning due to budget. And then the office, don't forget, will be closed the first week of July. Enrollment wise, actually, I'm feeling, you know, I hate to say it, I'm feeling good about enrollment for next year, but we're honestly, numbers, it's not as bad as I thought it would. Like, I was worried about the transition and all of that. But Cindy sent the numbers to me today. I don't have 3, 4 and kindergarten through 6 what we've already made offers to, but like our waiting list, it's 50 or above. Well, there's a couple that's in the 40s, but at each grade level. So I feel pretty confident that we'll, I mean, we have some seats, like 6th grade that right now doesn't have any seats available. So, or I'm sorry, 8th grade, like we're over. And so we'll be able to tweak those. So as far as enrollment, we're meeting those projections that we put out for next year right now. So
Feeling good about the transition to middle school and having that space with our current projections.
yes.
Good.
Yeah, I think we'll be fine. I asked Jared to share with me the numbers, and Cindy has been meeting with Leanna and I, so all of that behind the scenes of Skyward, how to use Skyward. That wasn't a training that I'd ever had, so she went through all of that with us, and then we'll start the scheduling, but also looking at request forms, and I want to make sure that we're not over at capacity or like a crazy number in classes, but I also want to make sure on the other side, I want to offer things, but we can't financially offer if only 6 kids want that course. So we're trying to do that. Dual enrollment, we have several kids that took advantage of that. So working through their schedule with them. So I'm excited about that, but all the while still offering all the other courses. So
That's great.
Did we ever get the numbers from the fire marshal on the capacity over there? No.
And I'm just going off of what I had on the last document, which the last school. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I jump in, Heather. One thing was Summer Bridge in past summers that has related that actual term to summer tutoring. And Summer Bridge this year just means I think it's for rising 8th graders. It's just a transition, a welcome to the secondary program. And then also wanted to give a shout out to Hilda, who I think has is coming really close to finalizing interviews for CASA already, and that's usually a big lift in the summer, so she's really well ahead of the game, so well done.
You have any questions around all of that?
How is the construction permitting piece? Are they feeling confident that they're going to be able to meet our summer timeframe?
Yeah, yes, but I do have some news about that, but I was waiting. I was like, oh, do I share it? Do I not?
Sorry.
I'm not sure. So actually, the company sent me an email today with all of the projections of what it would cost. I did have a couple of questions I sent back, and then I'm going to send that out to you.
Okay.
So I feel that they are like, we can still do this. So now, you know, that's their company if all the contractors. I will say that Kathy, through this whole thing, has maybe found a loophole on the 1st grade upstairs.
Oh.
but we can't, I don't want to
Yeah.
put that out there.
Yeah.
So we have some people working through that. She has made her contacts and they are legal wise through the fire marshal and all that kind of stuff to see if that works. I don't want to stop the construction side in case of, but
Right.
they did tell Kathy, hopefully that we would hear this week with an answer if we would meet that criteria. If that would happen, then we could tweak some things around and we wouldn't have to worry about that right now. And then that could be future potential adding. if we
Right,
wanted.
right. That would be huge.
One of the things I
Huge.
was a little nervous about as far as the money, I kept getting from our bond that, no, we can't use it, whatever. So I did use Melissa Arnold, and she was the one who helped us with our bond, and she got clarification that we can use because we have not closed
Yeah.
that out.
Yeah.
So I am comfortable that we can use what was left over from the construction money for that, since we did not close it out yet. And it's written in there, but, we could potentially not have to make that, but it's one of those things that you're like, oh, you hate to get all excited about because I think the fire marshal wasn't sure either, Kathy.
Yeah, it seems to be in code, and if it's in code, it should be good. Yeah, the exemption is that if we designate one stairwell, particularly to children younger than 3rd grade, that we should be good. So fingers and toes crossed. We don't want to get too excited because that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a big upstairs space. I mean, like you could have just one stairwell and that would, it would be doable. Yeah, it would be doable. So.
But I want to say too, that like on the flip side, the company that we're using has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
So like it is definitely just a way to save money if we don't have to do that. Then we do have to work through, Kathy and I walked out there, but really get into planning the drop off and pickup time, like because with the littles you have to sign out. So it's can't be a number. So we will have to work out that extra drive lane here for it, but that's something we'll get to if we.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if we don't use that money for that purpose, are we able to then?
No, if we don't use it for construction, then once we close out our construction, it goes back to the bond.
Oh, okay.
Unless we have another construction.
Right, as long as we don't ever, well, if they don't ever. Come back and be like, you have to, but it's in our bond that we would do renovations in that section of it. So as long as we don't say it's closed.
Right.
No, I don't know how long they'll give us.
And would we still be making changes to the multipurpose room? Or no? Okay.
I mean, if anything, we could always utilize improvement school on the high school labs or something, right? Like that would probably be where we would end up spending it next.
Yeah. So the science lab renovation would take all of it as well, because we had already
had that drawn up.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Heather.
Thank you all. Thank you. That moves us.
About the principal.
Oh,
So.
yes.
National update or.
Well, I think we have the invites, or we have the time slots. So everybody will just, do you know where you're hosting those? Are they going to be in here? Or are they going to be at the high school? Okay.
Thursday.
Okay.
At the high school. I have already set up the interviews.
With the 4 candidates?
Yes.
Okay.
And we reviewed 18 resumes.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. We
summarize.
did. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I didn't know what Stacy was doing. Yes, so just where we're at with the secondary position, we had, I don't want to say, I think 31 applications total. Some just did not meet the criteria at all. And then I sent to the committee. So how we selected the committee was, of course, opened it up to the board that wanted to be there, but then I also opened it up to middle and high school staff. They got to nominate 2 people. So they nominated who they wanted, and then they voted on those 2 people. So that was kind of how I did that. To ensure that our students are involved, is they'll be taking the candidates around on a tour. And then my thought process would be have an opportunity for a parent some type of parent event, whatever, if we narrowed it down to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the process for that. So Thursday we'll start those interviews and we'll interview those 4 candidates and then go from there. If we need to interview more, we will, or we'll start the second phase of that, bringing in.
Yeah.
Good to see that there was interest.
Oh, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah.
All right. Anything else? We covered a lot. Anything on the big rocks?
No, not yet, because I think the only thing left on there was the instructional piece, and I want to see what those scores are.
Okay.
As far as the instructional piece of things, but I think as far as communication, we met those big rocks. So what we'll do is I've actually created a guide for administrators. They have not received this yet. They're gonna be like, one more thing. But it is all things like an operational but instructional. So I have questions that I want them to get together as an admin team, as basic as what does your morning drop off look like, especially at that secondary level? What does the pickup look like? What are the expectations for classrooms, like management, those kind of things. So I have them categorized into like an operational, instructional. And so I want them to use the summer planning as a planning document, then to be able to share out with staff at the beginning of those expectations. And so instructionally, that will be the big part. I know one of my main focuses is going to be on TSS and ESE. That's something that I feel like I really want to support the administrators and staff in. So I'm hoping now that the operational side is there, that we can really turn our focus to the MTSS ESE, and then just strengthening our overall Tier 1 program.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Discussion on Zoom sharing.
Okay. Yeah, so I wanted to have a conversation. I had gotten a couple comments and then a formal request of why we don't proactively share out with the community, you know, our drafts of what we're looking at. And so we thought we would, I think it's an established practice, it's probably reasoning why we don't, but we want to just kind of revisit it since it's kind of Zoom has been a common, you know, way that our community joins these days.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there are, you know, anytime there's a draft, we should never post a draft per se, because it is a draft, right? Like until we are to a final product or a final decision, it's a work in progress. And so until something has been voted on and moved to the next step, we should not publish that as a representation of our school and what we are moving. That would be my perspective on that. Open that to discussion as well. I think it's fine for us to share documents like we're doing, like we did tonight with sharing the screen. You know, if there's something that we could talk about, we could probably do that a little bit more often than what we currently do it. So if we do have a document, one of us could just potentially share that document as we're talking about it, as long as there's no private information on it. Sometimes that happens, right? If there is information that does not really needs to be shared to an open community with teacher or student personal information on that, then we're not going to share that. That's just not going to happen. But I think if it's something where it's general speaking and it can be shared, then I have no problem with us, for the most part, and a lot of those things, sharing it, just screen sharing as we're discussing it. I think some of the pieces that we have to be aware of as a community is that if you're watching the whole thing, or if you're catching pieces of it, or if you're fast forwarding or on speed 2.5, right? Like watching those videos afterwards, and maybe missing something from a previous part of the conversation that tied in. So just take some of that into consideration as a community to make sure to get the whole picture, when thinking back on what's going on. Thoughts?
What's the requirement?
There none that needs to be shared until it's published.
No, I think it's a good idea to, if the board is considering the document together during the meeting, everybody should be able to see it. There's no reason they shouldn't.
Yeah.
I agree, sharing every draft or scrap that we developed while we're still figuring things out is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
People think we're gonna have first graders upstairs or whatever.
Yeah.
I think the things that we're looking at during the meeting, like we did tonight,
Yeah,
almost everything we talked about, maybe everything we talked about, screen share it.
yeah,
And the public ought to know, I mean, we're not, a lot of the things we see during board meetings are being kind of created contemporaneously. These things came to us about the same time they came to the rest of
right.
the public, so we haven't been sitting on drafts of these things for a long time. And when it comes to the reports that we have in minutes, those are things that are almost being read verbatim anyway, but they're all public record. We're happy to share them. If
Yeah.
anybody wants them after the meeting, they can be emailed out.
Right, that was my understanding is, it, upon request, obviously,
It's all
can
available.
provide, but,
Mhm.
that was why I thought it was valuable for us to discuss it is there's a little bit of a, clarification as to what we're proactively sharing. And for example, we have board docs, some things we post as attachments that we can see. We could consider if there was anything we wanted to post as a public attachment. The one thing I thought of is, for example, you put together a small document usually that outlines a little bit more detail about your updates, would that be something that either we would add a little extra detail in the board docs there with that, or could that document simply be made public? That would be an.
My only
potential
fear
option.
about my little, like mine are just bullet points, so I don't want that to be taken
Yeah.
out of context.
Right.
So honestly, it's more of, hey, these are the things we're gonna chat about. I would like for us to look at in the future, and I mean, ultimately it's up to you all, do whatever y'all want. It's hard sometimes these board meetings go so long, and I think that's the hard part, even to go back and watch them, you're talking about 3-hour meetings sometimes.
Yeah.
I really would love for us to kind of condense some of this if possible.
Mhm.
And so I would like, starting in July, if we could do like a consent agenda.
Mhm.
And so I shoot to you, hey, these are the things that's going to be approved. If you have questions, shoot them back to me individually and then just put it through. Because some of it's just the procedures. So for example, like signing off on the school resource officer.
Right.
If it's something big that we need discussed, that's different. But I
Right.
just feel like some of those little things, I feel like we spend a lot of time, and it's me because I like to talk, but I just would like us to kind of change that. So we really are focusing on the main things, which is our budget, and that instructional piece, and then everything else is just.
Yeah, because we moved to an approach with the agendas, we say discussion and vote for anything that has a vote, right? So that there is a period to say, if we do want to discuss anything as a public, with ourselves, in the public, whatnot, we can certainly have the time to do that. But you're saying, obviously, there are some things that are pretty
Yeah, they're
darn straightforward,
just-
that
right.
don't really require.
Just
significant
move to add a
discussion.
consent agenda to every agenda, and then that gives Heather a place to put things on that space.
And then I
Right,
would
that
just
she
make
would
sure
not
that
be
I send that
discussed.
to
They
you
would just
early,
be,
yeah.
Here they are,
Mhm.
this document,
Mhm.
there's not a lot of gray area.
Right.
To really go through, it's just,
Mhm.
like I know that comes up at the beginning of the year, right? There's a whole bunch of stuff that
Mhm.
Right.
Yes.
tend to sign off on and those,
Mhm.
take.
Well, and
time.
there's some documents that we can't, so I did reach out and just say, okay, what's the legal? I want to make sure that I understand the charter school board versus what I'm typically used to. And that was the thing, anything that does with safety, school security, all that, I can't share out public records request or
Right.
not.
No.
Mhm.
So that part doesn't matter. So like last month, we
Mhm.
talked about a couple of safety policies. That's not something we can share out.
Mm-mm. No.
So that would always be excluded. He did say that, the only thing you're required by law is to keep minutes. Like you're not
Yeah.
required video, you're not required to put it all out, like all of those kind of things. So as far as the law part, now if somebody records requests it, you can do that. It's just a lot of, like I putting out to the public, just a little plea. It's a lot of work to go back and to pull all of that off of board docs. So if there's something specific that I said that you're not sure, I would
Just
be
email you
happy
for a
to
question.
email me.
Right,
And the question, I'd be happy. And it's not that I'm trying not to be transparent,
Yeah.
but it takes a lot of time to go back and pull because it's on a shared drive, and then I have to save it and move it over. And so, and then PDF it. And it's not that I don't want to. And then a lot of that too, we are posting on our website. So I wanted to make sure people go there as well. So like the updated school calendar, it's on our school website, those kind of things that you're
Mhm.
looking.
Well, I mean, your point is valid. Like there is a process that we have around public
Right,
requests, and it is a lengthy process and it's a
Mhm.
very specific process.
Mhm.
So, you know, how much, again, do we kind of get ahead a little bit of just, you know, share where we can, where it makes sense, so that
But everything
don't
you
have to
post
go
on
down
board
that path.
docs can be set to public view, right?
It can, yeah.
So why wouldn't we set last month's minutes and the kinds of things that, we might as well just set them to public view, and then you'll never have to deal with public update requests, you just guide them to board docs. And the kinds of things that are exempt, which there's a lot of exemptions, they're very confusing, but I mean, you just don't make those public.
So
And-
for example, we're
and
talking
bullet
about
point
like
outlines,
the
right?
documents we're sharing,
Yeah.
which are PowerPoints or Excel budgets or things with
Draft
detail,
policies.
that is an option that you can make them public, right?
I would,
Okay,
I guess-
After they're approved or before.
I mean, every government I deal with publishes the board packet to the whole world. And exempt things aren't in it, but those usually aren't in the board packet anyway. And then,
How do we, I guess I'm guessing a little fuzzy on that they're drafts, right? We don't want to share drafts. A lot of them are drafts. We don't want like people to misrepresent
I mean, couldn't we
things
just
that are
mark them
not
as such?
final.
Couldn't we just?
I mean, we have to be like super clear on every page. This is
Be careful
not
about our
final.
versioning and our formatting so that we're marking, not final, draft,
a proposed budget should be titled proposed budget.
unapproved minutes, we can have naming conventions to help you differentiate what is final and what is not final.
I mean, my perspective is it is a large step to post everything as a public document. Just because there's a lot of things that we're not doing as such today. Again, as needed, we can provide them, but that's a lot to manage the documents. People are downloading documents. What are they doing with the documents? I mean, as soon as you allow that, as opposed to say a screen share kind of an approach, right? Then we have a little bit more, ability to kind of show what we want to show. And again, all things are public and I get it, but
I think we have, 4 documents attached today? And one of them is a budget that could have had a big red draft at the top and said proposed on it. Nobody's gonna do anything nefarious with that. Last month's minutes are last month's minutes. If you listen to the meeting, you already know what's in them. There's bullet points. I wouldn't share that. That's just your own talking points.
Yeah.
And that's my thing. So do
Yeah.
you- as a board, do you all want those beforehand?
Yeah,
Okay.
no,
I think they are
yeah.
helpful.
No, they
Okay,
are.
we know what.
What's going on?
But
Okay.
you can Email those out as you
Yeah.
do.
Okay,
Yeah, or attach them how you,
know,
that's, don't change that.
What goes on board docs is kind of your agenda packet.
Right, it's sort of like the exhibit.
But using today as an example, which is a fairly typical meeting, there's nothing here I'm not happy for the world to see, and
Yeah.
you want meaningful participation from the public. It's kind of a fundamental thought of Sunshine. They gotta know what we're looking at.
Right.
I mean, I'd be happy to conduct an audit of what's on there now, come up with a list of what we've got that's not.
So then this opens up a question, do we go back
No,
retroactively?
don't. do that.
No.
Okay.
This is next month when we have 5 documents.
I
Yeah.
know what works with this to manage, so I appreciate the idea of, again, how do we manage it consistently,
So instead of right now, it's just that budget is just under administrative files. We just would move it to public files.
It's actually very simple to do.
Yeah, I
You
feel like
move
I
it
can
to
just
the
drag and
upper
drop it.
box instead of the lower box.
I just dragged and dropped it
Mhm.
and put it in public files.
Yeah, so.
I'm gonna
now
save that.
now
But then you want to label it as draft before you.
It is, it says proposed. So it says proposed right off.
It's improvement.
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh, true, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
So final. Approved.
and it's public.
Okay.
I just did it.
Yeah. It's not hard.
No, so that's fine.
Yeah.
We could do
What
that.
I'm thinking of is all this routine stuff, and we're sitting here talking, and we're
Yeah.
listening from remote land, you think we've got 40 documents on everything. We don't.
We
have the-
don't,
We have
yeah,
the 4 things we
yeah.
talked about today. None of which
Yeah.
are all that secret,
No,
at all secret, so, when it's a school safety plan, yeah, you hold that one back.
Mm-hmm.
We do it by email.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, there's nothing else in there, so.
I mean, I definitely like the idea of the public seeing what we're seeing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm just questioning how we do it and to what degree we do it, because we need to do it consistently going forward, so.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm with Kevin, though. I think we should make as much of it public as we are able.
So it sounds like we're moving towards when in doubt, maybe, the default approach to putting board documents, as in the attachments, would be to put them as public.
Unless they contain personal information.
Unless
CIP
we
or-
identify something,
Yeah,
you know, would not feel appropriate.
yeah,
You would be emailing us your updates in more of an email type of a format, just as, you know, pre-agenda, pre-review.
yeah.
Okay.
That
I
works.
think you know it when you see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plenty of times that I've got something like the board meeting. Just to walk it on to the agenda and put it in front of the board members that day,
Yeah,
for the reasons you're thinking of,
Mhm.
but you know it when you see it.
I agree.
And then I think where we are looking at something fairly detailed, it certainly does help to screen share if we can do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, you know, if it's in board docs, people can pull it up themselves, so.
Okay.
Are our video meetings transcribed? Just out of curiosity.
There is a
no.
transcription that is
You do?
saved when you save the recording. We don't post the transcription.
Right.
No, we post the minutes
And
The video.
Yeah,
Video.
There is an automatic.
But if you are
Automatic.
in Zoom yourself, you can choose to
Right.
have it in. You would just have to be in the live version versus a recording.
Is there any consideration for just going to minutes instead of like having the Zoom but not recording it?
I guess we didn't.
Not recording and just putting the minutes on afterwards?
Yeah, have the Zoom available so people can still attend virtually, but again, to the point that I think Stacey you made earlier, you know, people just jumping in and out and maybe
Yeah.
not getting full context. I think the minutes gives the more finished version, you know, just for clarity. Just a thought.
Yeah.
I don't have an idea of how many people watch the recording to know
Yeah.
like if that would be a big
We can look at the hits on the YouTube.
yeah, I can look at analytics. Right?
I just will, I mean, like Stacy said, it, especially this past month, it has caused a lot of rumors and confusion like around salary or things that are happening because they're only watching snippets and they'll be like, oh, but you said you were freezing our salary. That was not what was said.
Mhm.
But you know what I mean? So it's
Okay.
things
Yeah.
like that it's just hard. And I can't tell everybody, well, you have to watch the whole thing, you know, but then I just say, please stop spreading rumor like this is, but it leads to all of these other things.
Right.
Again, I will be if somebody wants to come into my office and talk, we'll sit down and talk about everything, like transparency part of it, but just a lot on the other side.
And is that what most of the requests were on the salary stuff, or was it
It's
just
just
random?
all records.
Mhm. I think it's something we can continue to think about and look at, but I think we definitely need to streamline the agenda, and I think that will help with some of the additional. And then if we can get that agenda down where we're here for 2 hours and not 3 hours, then it's not as a big of expectation for them to join, right? So, but I think when we're asking them to join for 3 hours, it's tough, so they might be piecemealing and watching, and because they're so long. But yeah.
Certification, I just did my 2-hour course, reminded me an effective meeting is 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Let's aim for that. Let's aim for that.
Florida charters.
We're almost to an hour and a half,
I
right?
will say that was Dana's feedback to me, because you know, she was a
Yeah.
charter support unit.
I guess we did.
At the last one she attended, she was like, you are way too long on your meetings.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
All right, well, let's move this right along. Any other updates from the committees? Speed it up.
Yeah, AJ's next. Does he? I guess does he?
You checked the
done.
box for finance
Okay.
committee. We're good.
All right.
I'll have an update for you next month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again.
We skipped Sarah.
Okay.
Sarah, you out there?
Hey, I am out here. How are you all?
Good.
Good.
Good. All right. Well, it is my final PTO update for the board. We're so excited. Woo! We have our Thank you all, and thank you, Kathy, for your kind words. It has been such an amazing time and just such an honor to be able to have served our community and restore our traditions, make new traditions. So I'm so excited. I'm also really excited for you guys to all work with my replacement, Karen Greiner. We are having our last PTO meeting this Tuesday coming up, so not this week, but next week, from 9 to 10. That will be in person on the pavilion. And that's where we're going to officially vote her in and all of our other members that are transitioning. So anybody on the call, if you want to get involved with PTO, we're still looking for help next year. So come on down, join us at the pavilion. It's always a fun time. This week, we're still doing community closet collections, so that's very exciting. Thank you to Heather Clay and Jared for providing us a space at high school for our storage. So we've purchased a shed and it should be delivered this weekend, actually. So it's going to be a shed and we'll be able to store all of our items on middle school, high school campus, which will be lovely. So anybody on the call, when you need things from PTO, we'll just be able to give you a key or the combo and you can grab the popcorn machine or whatever for rallies. And for us, it will be wonderful. We'll be able to save a lot of money in storage fees. We love that budget too. So if we can make those dollars stretch. It's gonna allow us to do a lot more good next year. So we're really excited. If anyone wants to help build this shed, we're planning on building it in high school this Saturday, Sunday-ish. And then we're going to be moving out of our old storage and sort of reorganizing, cleaning all of that. So if you're bored this weekend, I'm sure there's nothing going on. Just come on down, help us out. Also on Sunday, we are doing our annual end of the year party at Island H2O. It's really fun. If you guys haven't been to that water park, it's amazing. It's clean and small, but still exciting enough for the bigger kids. The passes are $27, but you can apply that towards your season pass. So you go for the day, which is a discounted rate, and then whatever the remaining balance is, if you and your family want to go. For every 12 tickets we sell, we get one free ticket. So if you want to go and it's maybe outside of your budget, just shoot us an email at president@PTO Owls and we can help support people going and celebrating who may not be able to afford it. And then that's it for the year. And you'll start to hear from Karen. I'll be stepping down into a vice president role, but I'll still be around, cheering you guys on for all the things.
Thank you,
And
Sarah.
thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. You have been a transformational leader for us. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thank you for letting me, and helping me and supporting me in all of our endeavors. It's been a fun time.
Awesome. Thank you. Excellent. Okay. Committee updates. Anything you want to share, Kate, for?
Yeah, sure. The grant team met a couple of weeks ago, so we've submitted several grants. We'll keep you posted as we hear more. We did decide to wind down for the summer a bit, so we're going to meet asynchronously over the summer. We'll continue to keep an eye out. I'll continue to look for things to apply for, as will the rest of our team. And yeah, we'll be communicating via email during that time in case anything comes up. And yeah, then we'll be recruiting for the fall and we'll be back at it in August.
Are you looking for helpers?
Oh, always.
Okay.
If anybody has that skill set.
If anybody has nonprofit experience in grant writing,
I just want everybody to know, I'm not slacking on the Walmart.
No, I
thing.
know that.
They will not respond to me. I have set up all of the things that they say, but they're not linking. You have to have a business account for this and that. And so I've done all of the things. I've emailed them and they don't have a contact number.
Walmart does not want to give us money.
No.
It's that roundup thing that you
Yeah.
get in Walmart Spark. I just cannot get them to follow through on the verification at the very end. So I'm still working on it.
We applied to a bunch of stuff this past month. I think we applied to 4 or 5. So
Nice.
keep you posted.
Thank you. All
Well,
right.
I have a little blurb on general fundraising. So since we last met, you've probably seen like 500 posts from me.
Yeah.
No, we did do a drip campaign, I would call it, for 5 weeks in a row, and it did make some substantial movements. We gained about 50 new donors. We gained about $4,000 in 4 weeks. And I think the biggest thing that was helpful is we had a monthly amount of just like 125 from our monthly donors, and now we're up to like 870. So we're at like 12 grand now, plus another 6 or 7 in pledges. So we're approaching like 18,000.
That's
So
awesome.
it was worth the consistent push
Yeah.
and community advertisement for 5 weeks in a row. So thank you for those who join or online for participating in that as well.
That's great.
And to follow up on that, we did, I don't know if you've been by the high school, but we did get outside benches. So that was one of the things. They're really, really nice. So now Tito put those together. Now he's like, we gotta get the same type of updated picnic table. I said, well, that's next year's, fundraising, not this year's. But so we went ahead and bought 6 with hopes
Okay.
that we would get to that number. And so I think we're getting closer for the high school. So that will, just so people know, we don't want you to stop giving because we still need to pay them off. But we
Yeah.
went ahead and purchased them up front with the hopes that they were going to follow through on the rest.
That's awesome.
Okay.
So that is, they're out and they're really nice.
That's great. That's great.
Thank you for sharing that.
But kids are still sitting on the ground, but at least they're there.
Yeah.
No, they have to be using that.
Well, some are, but you still have the ones laying on the ground. It's okay.
Okay. Anything
Pick a date for next
Yes.
month. Let's pick a date. It would typically be the 11th, but we can't do the 11th, right? So, because you guys are both out, you're out and you're out.
I am out and I get back
You wanna do
the 13th. But then
Um,
Heather's out the
I'm
following
out,
week.
I'm not out the 11th, I'm out the 15th through the 22nd.
Okay. So
Are we allowed to have it on not a Tuesday?
Yeah.
I mean, I could do that week, but I could do like the Thursday.
What do we have in June that we need to discuss?
we can cancel June.
I'm not.
But it's our annual meeting though.
Oh,
Oh.
we can cancel July.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's Kristen's last
meeting.
So what do you?
The 20
What do you do?
The 25th.
It just means that like that's the one meeting a year we have to have
Oh,
that
okay.
we've designated.
We didn't have to have the other 11.
Yes.
Yeah, you need to have 2 a year.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Charter, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't know if there was something I needed to get prepped for.
Yeah. No, it's just the 25th. Could we just push it back towards the end of the month? 25th. Yep, Kevin's good.
I'm good.
I think so.
All right.
Sure, I don't know if
The
Grenade
development
usually gets
committee
that.
meeting that night.
I can move that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good.
And usually in the summer we do
And that gives us a little bit more break too by then. And especially if we cancel July, then the one in June is a little bit later. So that
I think
makes
last time we kind of made the schedule for the year during
Yeah.
that summer meeting.
Yeah.
Blink 182 is the 20th.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was helpful at the June meeting to vote on what the dates of the meetings would be for the rest of the, or for the upcoming school
Yeah.
year.
Right.
So you get ahead of it a little bit, and what the topics will be and having all that kind of set ahead, but.
Well, we could just do a front end working session that evening and then finish it with a quick board meeting. There probably won't be a lot on the agenda, but we need to have it, right? Like, so we, instead of double dipping on having a separate working session, we could just do a dinner. We'll bring Kevin some tacos and, got you. And just do that beforehand. Does that work for everybody? Just knock it into one.
Do we need to have a SAC committee meeting over the summer?
That is August, I'm pretty sure. No, there's a date for it.
Take a sec.
No, we don't have to have a SAC committee. We answered that question. Let me pull up,
It's in the somewhere. Let me find it.
the schedule. Is it in there?
Yeah, it might be
I
in
accidentally
the
closed mine.
working session.
Calendar or something.
Yeah, it's not that one.
I can't. Mine, I just want to close mine.
We're looking for last year.
Just the schedule that we sent out, the Word doc. Let me see. School calendar.
Well, we're looking at dates. I know that we usually decide to move the August meeting too, because the
Yeah.
August meeting always falls the day after school starts, so.
Yeah. We typically go
Bump
third
that
week
back.
on that one, yeah. Um.
Are you looking for when we did the SAC committee meeting last
What, yeah, what,
year?
no,
Or
the,
August?
yeah, I'm pretty sure we just teamed it up with them. It's not during July. I'm almost certain. I just was trying to like confirm that. I'll confirm it for sure, and if we can,
Yeah, because last year we did it as part of the school
You
improvement
could go
plan.
back.
yes,
Board docs
yeah,
from
yeah,
I think that was
last
my
August, right?
first.
yes,
official.
okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we would be good to cancel July's meeting, and then just move August, bless you. August would be probably 1 to the 20th. August 20th then probably. That would be the third Tuesday, and school starts the 12th.
Okay.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's that.
Works. All right. Anything to close us out?
Nope. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
All right, we will adjourn at
Happy end of
8.
school.
8:10. Yeah, happy end of
All right,
school.
good night all.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night. Take care.